Welcome to another episode of Gorilla Sports Off Court. I am your host for today, Liv Moods, and this is presented by Trusted American Mortgage. Trusted American's salary-based mortgage consultants want to help you get into a better interest rate and lower your monthly payments. So head to trustedamerican.com to see how they can help you save some money today.
Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Gorilla Sports Off Court. I am your host for today, Liv Moods, and we are going to be jumping into all things Denver Nuggets. There's quite a few things happening across the league, and kind of some teams that I've had my eyes on from a betting perspective. We'll get into that a little bit as well, where I think some teams have some value to come out of the Western Conference based on where they're trending right now. We know the Western Conference is going to be a bloodbath. We know it's going to be exceptionally competitive, and we know despite OKC's domination, there is a world where in the playoffs, some of that hype may die down. The fact that I think their size is going to be something that stands in their way of making it to the championship. I'm not saying that they're not capable of that. Of course they are, especially when you have SGA playing at such a high level. But for some reason, I don't think that it's going to be OKC in the finals. I really, really don't. I've got two teams, one of which, of course, is my Denver Nuggets. And I know you're probably thinking, what on earth makes you still think that, given their performance against the Lakers? I'm still hanging on to a lot of things. I'm hanging on to hope, and I'm hoping that Coach Malone and this Nuggets team knows what they need to fix, is ready to tighten some things up, and also make some strategic moves. That also brings me to the main topic of conversation for today, which is who should be in the starting lineup. Christian Braun or Russell Westbrook. We're going to get into kind of playing devil's advocate for both, because I don't think you can really go wrong either way. But I think one, you lose more value having them on the bench than the other. We'll get into that in a second. But of course, want to start the top of the show with talking about tonight's matchup for the Denver Nuggets against the Indiana Pacers. There is a couple of questionable guys, game time decision guys here for the Denver Nuggets, Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon coming off of a fantastic performance against the Lakers. Despite the loss for the Denver Nuggets, Aaron Gordon looked really great. So I would love to see him ready, but we also know he has been battling injury and trying to take care of his body all season long. Want him to obviously prioritize that against a team that is obviously beatable. The Pacers are beatable, but we also know that when this Nuggets team faces good teams, they lose those games. Teams above 500, we do not perform well against. And while the Pacers may not feel like a threatening team, we also know that this Nuggets team plays down to their opponents sometimes. So I want to say that this Denver Nuggets team is going to win tonight. I want to feel confident in saying that, given the fact that just from a sports betting perspective, they're 5.5-point favorites on the road tonight. I want to believe that they're going to win, and they're going to be bouncing back from a pretty brutal 23-point loss to the Los Angeles Lakers. I would hope that they would figure it out tonight. That being said, we do know that they play down to their opponents often. It's not anything new. They do that all season long. They don't perform super well against strong teams. So I'm not really going to touch this game from a betting perspective. I'm just going to be watching as a fan and an analyst, hoping that they get some of those things ironed out, because I was not pleased with that performance against the Lakers. I want to talk really quickly about some value in the sports book. Speaking of betting, I want to talk about some value that I think is maybe worth taking a look at. With Jimmy Butler, the Golden State Warriors 5-1. With Steph Curry, anything is possible. I truly believe that. Steph Curry is one of those players that has the talent and the leadership quality to lead a team that you may not think is very threatening. We also know the Warriors started their season off very hot. They were looking like a true threat in the Western Conference. Of course, it's a very long season, so you didn't want to get too excited about that. But the Golden State Warriors, to me, are a team that I would absolutely keep my eye on. From a value perspective, you can get them coming out of the Western Conference at, I think, plus 1,900 right now. We know it's a very long season. The teams ahead of them at this given moment, of course, OKC is the favorite to come out of the Western Conference. We know that the Denver Nuggets are just behind them, despite that brutal loss to the Lakers. after them, the Los Angeles Lakers, which I think after what I saw against the Denver Nuggets, you can make a case for this Lakers team being contenders. I do believe that. The Grizzlies are after them, and then you've got the Golden State Warriors at plus 1900. I like the Grizzlies and what they're capable of. I think they have a very talented roster, but I do wonder if their young, talented roster is going to translate in the playoffs. We know how important it is to have that veteran presence. We know how clutch that can be for you in a playoff push. There's something to me about the Warriors that I don't hate. I don't hate sprinkling on plus 1900 for them to come out of the West. I think when you've got Steph Curry, anything is possible. And for whatever reason, I really did not think Jimmy Butler was going to be a super great fit in Golden State, and he is right now, and it's looking really good, and it's boding very well for them. So would be willing to sprinkle, especially when I think about who Jimmy Butler can be in the playoffs and what he's capable of. And now you've got him on a team where I think he's happy, he's getting some of that passion back. I'd be willing to sprinkle some money there. So plus 1900 for the Golden State Warriors. That's kind of where I'm leaning right now. I just wanted to plug you guys on that value play and just let you know what I'm thinking about. I'd be willing to sprinkle. Right now, OKC, if I truly, and I also do think with the value perspective being a sports better. So I just want to put that out there as well. To be honest with you, I like the Lakers, the Warriors, the Nuggets right now coming out of the West. I understand what the season looks like right now. I know that OKC is dominating. I absolutely do. But I think there's certain things in the playoffs that you have to be prepared for that I don't think OKC will be prepared for, similarly to last season. So I don't know. There's something about the Warriors, you guys. Mark my words. I just think that they're going to start getting that rhythm and that momentum at the right time in their season. And when you have Steph Curry, anything's possible. And with Jimmy Butler, 5-1 right now, they're performing very well. Jimmy is performing very well. And so we also know that when he's in the playoffs, he's like Jamal versus the Lakers, not last game, but typically, Jimmy Butler just gets that extra fire about him. And I really think the Warriors right now are sitting in a really good spot. And at plus 1900 to come out of the West, I'd be willing to sprinkle on it. So there's my little value play right now that I've got my eyes on because I'm really liking what the Warriors are bringing right now. So do with that what you will. Tail it, fade it, hate it. I don't care. Let's get to the main topic of conversation for today, which is who should start? Christian Braun, Russell Westbrook. Really quick, I am going to let Twitter know that we are live so we can get some more people in here. I'm seeing your comments. Appreciate you guys being here. The Grizzlies were holding their own against the Cavs, which was surprising. Yes, the Grizzlies, to me, I kind of get that same gut feeling, the same one that I get with OKC, that I just don't know if they're a playoff team. I just don't know if I trust the Grizzlies and OKC in a 7-game series. That's where I'm at with those teams. Again, I could be dead wrong. I'm just sharing with you how I feel about it. I don't know if I'm willing to put my money on the Grizzlies or OKC because I just don't picture them making a deep run in the playoffs, despite how hot OKC is right now. Trust me, I know. I watch basketball just like you. I think that their size is going to be what hurts them. So I don't have faith in them from a playoff perspective. Okay. And we will see the Denver Nuggets against OKC in back-to-back games. The Nuggets will be on the road in OKC. I believe it's March 8th and March 9th. We will see the Nuggets taking on OKC. So I probably won't like how those 2 games end, and it'll probably make me change my mind a little bit, change my tune on OKC and whether or not I think they can make a deep playoff run. Let's get to the main topic of conversation, like I said, which is Christian Braun versus Russell Westbrook as a starter. Now, I will tell you just right from jump, if you're comparing numbers, if you're looking at stats specifically, Christian Braun seems to be the answer right now, right? In terms of his shooting, his offense, he is one of the best players in transition in the NBA right now. He has done exceptional things for this team. He's averaging 14.8 points per game. He is playing around 6 minutes more than Westbrook, so that does make a difference. Where Russell Westbrook, from a statistics standpoint, has an advantage is those assists, is facilitating, which we know the Nuggets really need. because they aren't going to be the team that lives and dies by the three. They are going to open up the floor and find opportunities through the passing game, which they are very, very good at. And that's where I think Russ, there's an advantage there. I also love the pace increase that we see with the Denver Nuggets when Russell Westbrook starts, because what we see with this Nuggets team a lot this year is very, very slow starts in the first half, where then they got to find their rhythm and their groove and climb back in the third quarter. And then the game against opponents it really shouldn't be tight against is tight. And the Nuggets are kind of having to claw their way back into matchups. So I like the pace increase when you've got Russell Westbrook on the floor. Just from a numbers perspective, the Nuggets are 35-19 when Christian Braun starts, and they're 19-8 when Russell Westbrook starts. Now, I understand for a little bit in there, Russell Westbrook was not available. He was injured. He was dealing with a hamstring injury. In that time period, CB was starting, and the Nuggets were on a hot streak. You can't deny that. You can't not give credit where it's due there. But why I lean Westbrook over CB as a starter is because I think you're going to lose value having Westbrook on the bench. I think having him on the team, you obviously got him for a reason. You know the type of player that he is. He does play that selfless ball. And despite what other fan bases out there think, oh, just wait for the playoffs, just wait until you see him when it really matters. This is still a 17-year veteran that I think understands the game maybe a little bit more than Christian Braun. I also think there's a little bit more defensive upside just because of the hustle that Russell Westbrook brings to this Nuggets starting lineup that I think is very important. We also, CB had that defensive upside and was bringing that, but I think we've also seen him so great in transition that has kind of become his game right now. I don't know. I think that you can't argue with the energy that Russell Westbrook brings and the way in which that is contagious for this Nuggets team. And right now, it just feels like they need a Westbrook more in a starting lineup than they need a Christian Braun. And it is not to say that CB has not done his job and actually exceeded expectations quite a bit in terms of his role for this Denver Nuggets team. I just think it does more harm than good, in my opinion, to have Russell Westbrook coming off of the bench. And I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on that and whether or not you disagree. Let's see here. I'm kind of looking to see what people. Snow Wolf says, I vote for CB. Russ has too many turnovers and can't shoot. The turnovers are for sure problematic, for sure. I will say I have the tiniest bit of grace with Russell Westbrook because I do think he plays such a fast-paced game that when he was out for so many games, the Nuggets just kind of became unfamiliar with that pace. And so I'm kind of giving him a little bit of wiggle room over the next couple of games as he gets back into things following the All-Star break. I'm not willing to look at the Lakers game and just write off Russell Westbrook because I remember what he was doing ahead of the All-Star break and ahead of getting injured. So I'm not willing to just forget about the benefits of Russell Westbrook in the starting five because of some turnovers. Now, the turnovers are costly, yes. But unfortunately, Russell Westbrook is not the only one turning the ball over. It feels like it's pretty universal across this Nuggets team. So I think the turnovers need to tighten up for everybody on this team, especially in the starting lineup. Russ's defense is way better than CB, and CB's offense has been better. I agree with this, and this is kind of where I lean Westbrook more than CB. I do think I prefer Russ's defense in this moment. And again, the hustle. So much of defense is just that. It's effort and it's hustle. And Russell Westbrook brings that every single night. CB does also. So I don't want you to think I'm saying he does not. But I just think it's undeniable what Russell Westbrook brings from a contagious energy perspective. And that seems to be what the Nuggets need the most right now is defense. Their defense is just piss poor. Their turnovers are a problem. Russell Westbrook is a big part of that, but he is not alone in the turnovers. Those are just a universal issue for this Denver Nuggets team. So because the defense to me is so bad, and does seem to be the thing that's standing in their way the most. This offense has been working. CB has been a big part of that, yes, but he's also not the entire offense. And I'm not saying that Russell Westbrook is the entire defense either, but I think right now I prefer Russell Westbrook's defense, which is why I lean more that direction. This comment is wonderful. Russ has better defensive awareness. Again, you guys, let's not forget he is a 17-year vet, right? And that's kind of where my brain goes is this Nuggets team right now. A lot of the turnovers, a lot of the losses are just like they're very preventable, number one. And I guess you could say that for any loss in sports, it was preventable. They're very preventable for this Nuggets team, but a lot of it is just like lock in. You got to lock in. Like they're very silly mistakes that are costing them the game. And I think having a 17-year veteran in your presence in a starting five, it does more than people are willing to give credit for. So, yeah, I agree. The defensive awareness absolutely is an upgrade in comparison to Christian Braun. Let's see what this comment says. Russ makes the home run defensive plays, but sometimes he does strike out in baseball language. Yeah, Russ is not perfect. He's really not. We've seen this Nuggets team win despite turning the ball over way too much. Again, I think when I'm looking at a bird's eye view of what's happening with this Denver Nuggets team right now, I really feel like defense is just going to be the one thing that they either fix it and they can be a contending team and they can win a championship this year, or they don't fix it and we're going to see exactly what we saw last year in the playoffs. Them playing exhausted, tired basketball. There's no defensive hustle or energy whatsoever, and they're just getting smacked up throughout the entire playoffs. I don't want to see that again. And I do think the defense is largely what's going wrong with this Nuggets team right now. So tightening that up, making some adjustments there will definitely help. Again, Christian Braun's transition scoring is something that you can't overlook. He is playing at a very, very high level, but because of that defensive upside that Westbrook brings and the defensive awareness that Westbrook brings, and just the fact that when he's a starter, the Nuggets are 19-8, keep tapping into that until you can't anymore. I think that in that time period where CB was starting and they were on a hot streak, it was because of a lot of different things. We saw a lot of different players, contributing to that. We saw Jamal Murray getting hot. We saw really great games from MPJ, Nikola Jokic, of course, being Nikola Jokic. But there was an immediate change when Russell Westbrook was in the starting lineup. It was hard to deny. I mean, if you were watching the Denver Nuggets play at that time when that change was made, it was immediate. You could see it. You could feel it. It was very, very impactful to have him in the starting five. I'm not saying it's not impactful to have CB there, but I think the upgrade when you have Russell Westbrook as a starter is a little bit more significant than when you have CB in the starting lineup. So that's kind of where I'm leaning now in terms of this conversation. But it's tough. It's tough. And again, that's maybe a good problem for this Nuggets team to have. You've got CB who has not gotten nearly enough recognition for being one of the best role players this season for this Denver Nuggets team. So he's not getting nearly enough credit, but I do hope and pray that this team is selfless enough. We know Russell Westbrook plays without ego. That's one of the things that makes him so great and makes him such a great teammate and makes him such a great leader. But I do think, in these games where we're watching how badly this Nuggets team struggles against good teams, and really they shouldn't be, right? I understand that when you're playing a higher caliber defense, like we saw with the Lakers, or you're playing against a really solid offense and the Nuggets aren't playing strong defensively, a game can get carried away from you very quickly. But this Nuggets team has the skill set and has the talent on this roster to not be losing to these good teams, to these teams above 500. So I do think that, I don't know. I think this is the time now more than ever that Coach Malone has to be exceptionally strategic in his rotations as well as who's in his starting lineup. I want to talk a little bit about a comment like this. And Snow Wolf, I'm not saying I disagree with you, but I think that is one of the Nuggets' biggest issues is the loyalty that they show to that championship core sometimes is to a fault. I think Coach Malone has a very hard time letting go of players or starting fives from that championship era when at the end of the day, the game is evolving, which means coaching also has to evolve. And yes, 2023, we know who was there. We know who brought value. We know that chemistry matters. But at the same time, the game has changed since 2023. Teams are playing defense very, very differently. Teams are starting to figure out how to match up against this Nuggets team. We saw that just the other night against the Lakers. We see that when they play the Timberwolves. So teams are starting to figure out how to work this Nuggets team. So sometimes change is not a reflection of CB not doing his job, but it's a reflection of the game around us is changing. Teams are figuring out how to beat us. So we also too have to adapt and change and figure out how to become unbeatable again. So I just don't like when we get too wrapped up in CB has earned this. I'm not saying he hasn't, but if we are constantly thinking about what people earn and what people deserve, we're going to be in trouble. I think so much of Jamal Murray's contract was a little bit of that. He helped us win a championship. We wouldn't have done it without him, so he has earned this. You're right. That was in 2023, however, and in 2024, he wasn't really earning that type of contract. So I think sometimes we hold on to, listen, at the end of the day, the NBA is a business. You have to make business decisions, tough ones. Very, very tough ones. The Lakers had to make a tough business decision. Do we keep Anthony Davis when he's the healthiest and playing the best, or do we get another superstar in Luka Doncic? We are starting to see the Luka trade really working for this Lakers team. It's a tough business, and I don't think the Nuggets are cutthroat enough in the tough business aspect of the NBA, and that's going to hurt them. At the end of the day, yes, CB has earned the right to be a starter. But I also am of the mind that you got to do what's best for the team right now and for the future. We can't keep holding on to what happened in 2023. It was great. It was fun. I was at the parade. I had a blast. But I also want to win another one. And because the game has evolved since 2023, the Nuggets also have to evolve since 2023. So I just wanted to pull this comment up on the screen. Again, it is not shade to Snow Wolf here because he does make a great point, but I just do think that sometimes we hold on a little too much, the Nuggets do, to the loyalty aspect. And sometimes you got to let go of that. Sometimes you got to let go of that and treat it like a business and make business decisions and figure out, while all of these teams are figuring out how to beat us, now we have to figure out how to become unbeatable again. We've been that before. How do we get back to that? Let's get some of these comments. People keep saying Russ shouldn't shoot. That last game, if you notice, the paint was packed, exceptionally packed. So there was not much space to slash, which is why the offense was halted. Listen, the defensive approach and game plan by the Lakers was exquisite. It's that simple. The Nuggets absolutely got caught in a situation where they did not anticipate the Lakers being that prepared defensively. They had no answers. They did not know how to work through the defensive approach by the Lakers. The Lakers were treating that like game 7. JJ Redick said, I didn't sleep for days preparing for this game. Teams are starting to figure out how to beat the Nuggets. The Nuggets now how to figure out how to change their game plan to throw off the teams that think they have them figured out. And doing that might be changing your starting 5. It might be getting Russell Westbrook back in there. So I don't know. I just think there's got to be some strategy as we start moving through this because there are clearly holes in this Denver Nuggets team. There are weaknesses. We've seen them on full display many times. This is not the first time. The Lakers game was not the first time that we saw a weakness on full display for this Nuggets team. So we know it's there. We know that they have their struggles and they have their issues. So now the strategy comes into play. You know, it's already almost March. The team you've got is the team you've got. You made no trades ahead of the trade deadline. So work with what you've got and make it happen. You know, that is kind of the position we're in right now with this Nuggets team. Let's see. Only 3 West teams have a winning record versus above 500 teams. OKC, the Rockets, and Lakers. Yeah. The Nuggets, when playing teams above 500, is concerning for sure at this point in time. We were seeing that earlier in the season, and I was kind of saying, all right, let's give it a second. It's a long season. They have, and again, we do have to at least acknowledge how riddled with injuries the Denver Nuggets have been. It is not an excuse. They are still second in the West, I believe. And so you got to be kind of impressed with their ability to kind of fight through some of those injuries that they were thrown and some of the things that they've had to navigate. But again, now it's almost March, and teams have watched enough Denver Nuggets basketball to know how to play against them. And the Lakers just did it on full display for everybody to see. And now all of these teams are going, okay, the Lakers found a way to hold Nikola Jokic to 7 shot attempts from the field. It's unheard of. It feels unheard of. So it's now been exposed just how beatable this Nuggets team is and just how to beat them. And a lot of times the Nuggets beat themselves. So let me also put that out there. A lot of times the Nuggets are their biggest threat. So that doesn't help at all. But I don't know. I think you get Westbrook back in that starting lineup. I think the pace that he plays with right from the beginning of games, the defensive upside, the defensive awareness that he has over CB, to me, is what this Nuggets team needs. So I'm kind of leaning Team Westbrook right now in terms of him being a starter over CB. I am hoping that regardless of what they decide, that it starts to work a little bit better, and they do start to play with a little bit of a quicker pace from jump. MPJ right now, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'd keep him in the starting lineup right now. He's giving me a lot of stress and anxiety, if we're being completely honest here. But yeah, I think I lean Westbrook as a starter over CB. But of course, would love your guys' feedback, comments, concerns. Let me know how you're feeling. And hopefully tonight, this Nuggets team gets a win against the Indiana Pacers. Again, the Indiana Pacers are a team that, if you're just looking at comparing and contrasting these two teams, one is significantly more threatening than the other. And I would say that the Denver Nuggets have a lot of advantage in this matchup. That being said, defensively, these teams are pretty evenly matched. And we know that the Pacers, if they want to turn it up offensively, especially from the 3-point line, they can. But the Nuggets have to show me a little bit of promise tonight defensively. They just have to, or I'm going to start hitting the panic button, and I don't want to do that. This comment says, MPJ needs to get his shit together, LOL. He cannot be afraid to shoot. Before the trade deadline, I felt like he was playing very timid basketball. And I was giving him the benefit of the doubt, just that, it's got to be stressful this time of year, especially when all of the trade rumors are surrounding you. You could have a really big change coming your way that you don't want, but, you just know that that's the business that you're in. And then we saw him kind of get hot there after the trade deadline, before the All-Star break. And now he's back to playing timid basketball. And I just don't get it. With your size, every board should be yours. With your size, defense should be, he has zero defensive hustle, zero. And he is acting like he's scared to shoot the ball. So I'm not feeling great about MPJ in this moment. I really have concerns. He's just spotty. He's inconsistent. And from now until the championship, there really is no excuse for inconsistent play, especially at the hands of effort. And that's what it feels like we're missing from MPJ right now. So, okay, I'm going to read through these comments one more time, make sure I didn't miss anything. And then we'll get out of here, you guys, and I'll let you enjoy your day. Yeah, I'll just wrap with this. I do think Golden State Warriors coming out of the Western Conference. I do think that is a bet I'd be willing to sprinkle a little bit of money on it, plus 1,900. I like what they're doing. They're playing really motivated. Jimmy Butler, they're 5-1 with Jimmy. And we know what Jimmy can be in the playoffs. And when you've got Steph Curry on your side, anything's possible. So, yeah. That's kind of how I feel. The Warriors, sleep on it. You don't have to bet it. You can absolutely fade me. I'm just kind of sharing with you how I feel, but I do feel like the Golden State Warriors might be a sneaky one. I think they're starting to find some momentum. They started really hot, that kind of fell off a little bit, and I think they're finding their momentum at a really great time. So would not be surprised to see them come out of the West. Would not be surprised at all. Might sprinkle some money on it right now. Actually, there's no mites about it. I absolutely will. So if you'd like to join me, be my guest. But I do really like the Warriors right now, and just think it's a sneaky pick, worth maybe a little sprinkle. So, all right, that's it for today. That's all for my hot takes. The only hot take I guess I have is Westbrook as a starter and the Golden State Warriors coming out of the West at plus 1900. Do with that what you will, but this has been another episode of Off Court. Guerrilla Sports here, and presented by Trusted American Mortgage. Trusted American salary-based mortgage consultants want to help you save some money by either lowering your interest rate or getting you a better monthly payment. So head to trustedamerican.com to see how they can help you save some money today. Thank you guys tons for tuning in, and we will be back on Thursday for another episode of Off Court. No post-game live show tonight, but I will have you covered following the Bucks game. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you Thursday, and have a wonderful day. Bye.